What is up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Nerf Herder Council. I am your got some kickback there. All right, let's try this again. There we go. My bad. Blew the intro. All right. What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Nerf Herder Council. I am your host, JT. We are live, apparently in both of my ears, on Facebook, YouTube, the YouTube channel of the Virtual Cantina Network, as well as their Facebook page. You can find us at those locations every other Wednesday at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. As always, we are brought to you by Audible. Go to audibletrial.com/NHC for your 30-day trial and a free audiobook download. If you would like to get some awesome customizable Nerf Herder Council swag, just go to shop.nerfherdercouncil.com. And if you would like to get some Virtual Cantina Network swag, just go to tpublic.com/user/virtual-cantina. So without further ado, hopefully he doesn't botch his intro the way that I botched mine. Bring on AJ. How's it going, man?
Hey, buddy, what's going on tonight, man? How you doing?
I'm doing good. A little bit of technical difficulty there. I was wearing the wrong color shirt, and
that was actually that would have been perfect. You should have stuck with that.
It looked really stupid. It really looked stupid.
You want to tell the audience what the heck we're talking about?
Yeah. Excuse me. So, real quick, the views of the Nerf Herder Council do not necessarily reflect those of the Virtual Cantina Network. And we are talking about Terrifier 3 tonight, so there are going to be spoilers. So if you have not seen the movie and you do not want to be spoiled, then definitely turn this one off. There will also be spoilers for the first and second movies as well. Also, All Hallows Eve, which started this whole thing. Not a lot of people know that, actually. AJ hasn't seen it because he didn't know that either until I told him yesterday. But yeah, so there's going to be spoilers for all of the movies. So, yeah, well, I bought it. So, yeah. So anyways, guys, there's going to be spoilers for all 4 of the movies in here tonight. And yeah, there might be some rough language. So if you're not into that, might also not be the show for you. And rough language tonight is not just going to be cursing, but there's going to be a little bit of discussion of people getting chopped to little tiny bits, because these movies are violent as hell and they are gory. So yeah. Kale McLeish says that creepy red of AJ's room looks like he killed a guy over the light. Nice. Oh my gosh, that's awesome. So yeah, that was I'm glad I caught the shirt, but I had to wait for you, and I didn't want to jump out and you'd be like, where the hell are you? So I had to wait.
No, you never have to wait for me. My cat spilled a drink. That's why I was late.
Oh, Lucy is being a bad kitty. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Alrighty. So, like I said, these movies are extremely gory, making them, for me, extremely awesome. So first and foremost, I believe I've stated this on our Halloween episodes before. For me, if I'm going into a horror movie, the gorier the better. I like it just messed up and people getting hacked up and stuff. Saw is always awesome for me because there's a room full of writers whenever they get together, and they go, yeah, we're gonna do another one of these movies, and it's just a bunch of sickos going, okay, how can we carve up a human body in a different way this time? And I want that job because it seems like it would be a lot of fun. So
I can totally see that. Yeah.
Yes. Kale says, so in other words, what JT wishes he could do to the Purgle and their creators. I can't say they're creators, Kale, because then there'd be a whole bunch of other content that I wouldn't get. But Purgle, yes, 100%. So, yeah. So right off the rip, I mean, you've seen Terrifier 1 and 2, correct?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
But you have not seen All Hallows Eve.
Not seen All Hallows Eve.
Okay. All right. So
sorry, my Art the Clown knowledge is incomplete.
Okay. Well, so All Hallows Eve is basically, it's like 3 little short stories. They're kind of like the basis of the main story. So that, like, the main story is like, there's this babysitter who actually is the actress who plays the news reporter in the beginning of Terrifier 2. And after the 2 kids that she's watching come home from trick-or-treating, she finds a VHS tape in the one kid's Halloween sack. And so they're like, "Ooh, let's watch it." And so on this tape are the 3 stories or whatever, and it's, Art the Clown is kind of like it's supposedly like he's like the common thread through all 3 stories, but the second one is some alien invasion thing. Like, aliens get into this person's house, and it's like the only time Art the Clown is shown is like the husband is a painter, and he painted a big picture. He, like, had a dream and, like, went into a trance and painted this horrific looking face, and it was Art the Clown's, like, so Art's not really in it outside of being in a painting. Um, but the first one is pretty messed up. There's some gore in there, and then the third one, like, it's just awesome because, Art does his art thing, so I can see why they decided to make a whole movie about just him. And it's
I love
basically
that
this.
summary. Art does his art thing.
Oh, dude, it's like so he's like this woman's on like she's traveling to an airport or something, like she's driving like an hour or two. And so Art the Clown he gets kicked out of the bathroom, and the guy's like, "Oh, you read, piss and shit all over the whatever." So he kicks him out. Well, then later out down the road, the woman shows up and, he's giving her directions and stuff. And whatever, things happen, and she ends up not being able to find this guy after, he disappears and says, "I'll go inside to get something." Well, she goes to find him, and she goes in the office, and Art the Clown has just brutally murdered this guy. And right in front of her, he's like doing his smile thing, and he's got a handful of hair and just starts sawing the guy's head off.
Oh, okay. So it's more like a Rob Zombie's Halloween Part 2.
Oh, it was,
Where
yeah, it
it's
was,
just like visceral death.
yeah. And so the
Okay. Okay.
long and short of it is, like, she tries to get away, and, it was a car crash, and then she gets in somebody else's car, and, Art eventually catches her, and then it, like, shows her waking up and only shows her face, like, but she's alive, so you're like, "Okay, cool." And, Art's in or whatever. So as it as it pans out, she's kinda, like, looking like, "Oh, thank God I'm alive, whatever, I'm not too messed up." And as it pans out, uh, Art's doing his laughing thing, and come to find out he had cut off her arms and legs at the elbows and knees and, like, sewn the stumps together so it's, like, all nice and tidy. Like, so she's basically
God,
yeah, I was
it's
like,
horrible.
yeah.
And
And
awesome.
so I was
It's awesome too.
yeah.
Yeah.
So, that's why I was like, "Okay, now I can see why they actually made that Terrifier movie," and then it's gone from there. So, basically watch the first one as, like, the historical, the history of Art the Clown, but also it's got some pretty awesome deaths. And again, had I seen that movie before Terrifier came out, I'd be like, "That was awesome." So that was pretty tight. Kale McLeish says, Here's my entire knowledge of Art the Clown. He's a clown. His name is Art. He kills people. The end." Kale, that's the beauty of these movies. That's all you have to know. Like, there's a story, and I think let's start talking about 3 right now. The story is pretty stupid, but I don't really care. And my
I
wife,
think Kale just summarized it, actually.
yeah, I mean, my wife even said, she's like, "My favorite one's the first one because there's not really a story. He just walks around killing people, and that's awesome." I'm like, "Yes, yes."
Mhm. Mhm.
So yeah, okay. So Miranda says, "Good to see you." She says, "The practical, real life side of me doesn't mind the gore, but wish it was a little more believable." Well, how that's no fun. If you want believable gore, want something nasty that I rewatch, and I make a point to watch it every Halloween because it is as dark and twisted a movie as you can find, and it's awesome for that reason, is Human Centipede 2. That you want realistic gore, there you go. That one is like, ooh, that one makes me cringe.
So yeah,
And
I've noticed that Terrifier humans are very juicy. Like, it doesn't matter where you get cut, there's just gallons coming out.
it's soft
And
skin.
it's yeah, soft skin, and it's almost like ketchup or paint. Like the quality of blood, I think, has a big impact on the effect, right? Like, I'm thinking like Saw, where the blood is almost like black at times.
Yeah.
It's like syrup, like oil, like really gross. And this is just like cartoonishly like opaque, bright red, almost like Heinz ketchup red kind of
See,
blood.
I don't mind it. Like, one of the things that this series is continually lauded for is the practical effects, and I tend to agree with that. Like, we know no one's gonna die this way, you know? But, I mean, having seen a whole bunch of horror movies, it could look a lot worse, and I think it actually looks pretty good in some parts. It's, it's close it doesn't quite fall into the, you know, category of, like, '80s stuff, like, when it was, like, these types of effects were in their
Where it's
infancy,
like
so
candy apple glaze, yeah.
yeah, exactly, exactly. Um, so, alright, so I was much more of a fan of the Terrifier series than you were. So, what were your first impressions of, uh of
Hey,
Terrifier
hey,
3?
hey, hey, don't be putting words in my mouth there, buddy. I
Oh,
never said that. I never said that.
well, I didn't say you said it, I said it.
Anyway, um, so having seen so I had to go back and rewatch the, first 2, right? Because I hadn't seen the second one. That was the weirdest thing, okay? So just to set the stage for the audience, I saw Terrifier, had not seen Terrifier 2, and then, Terrifier 3 came out, so I went to see it in the theater. And I'm
Oh,
thinking
but
it's a horror movie, right? Like, continuity doesn't really matter. You're there for the kills. Turns out that, yeah, you better see number 2 before number 3. So that was
yeah,
kind of jarring, actually, because like you said, the first one doesn't really have a story. It's just like he's a dude and he kills some people in the basement of a building. End of story. There's like nothing
yeah,
else to it. So like 3 starts up and they're like, "Oh yeah, you remember when we barely escaped from this guy 5 years ago and all this weird crazy shit happened and he's like putting himself back together." And I'm like, "What the hell is all this now?" Like this was not
yeah,
established in the first one
yeah,
at all. But I like I really like this series because I think that it's got just enough story. It's kills framed by how do we get to the kills? And I'm fine with that.
yeah,
I don't need this like grand drama, this like well thought out canon, like a Star Wars-esque. I've got 6 episodes mapped out in my head ahead of time. Like just give me a reason that the guy's coming back and it doesn't even need to make sense. And then just let him kill a bunch of people. That's really all it takes. Horror
yeah.
movies are so simple. So yeah, I am a big fan actually. It's just a hard left turn from the first one to go to 2 and 3. What do you think?
Ah, well, I would agree. Again, I will stand by my take that I'm a bigger fan than you. Um, I'm the one that bought All Hallows Eve, and you didn't even bother to watch it because you said it wasn't available for free. So I win. Also, I had seen Terrifier
I saw
2.
Terrifier 3 first.
That's okay. I didn't have the time. I was booked every single night till I went to see it. So, yeah, no, I completely agree with you. Um, I I saw the articles that had come out, a couple days before that said overseas, like, oh, people got up and left and 2 people puked and all this kind of stuff. And I was like, sweet, let's go. So, um, yeah, and I think you describe it very aptly when you say that it's, there's bits of story that get you to each kill. It's not just, random butchery. I mean, like the first one you could kind of say was basically random butchery. So some girls like
Mhm.
their car breaks down or whatever, or they run out of gas. Art the Clown starts ripping people apart. End of story. Like they didn't really kind of introduce storyline per se until the second one, and that's now played into the third one, and it's cool. I think it's good. I don't know where they can go from here because there's a potential of them to do something with it that's going to be ungodly cheesy. Um, but I'll wait to find out till Terrifier 4 for that, and even then, I probably still won't complain because it's gonna be a bunch of gnarly ass kills. So, I mean, it's one of those things, like, it's kinda nice. Like, you know what you're gonna get with this, I think.
Mhm.
Like, I mean, because with other franchises, and granted, this is only well, I guess it is 4 movies now, but with stuff like, like, let's say Friday the 13th. Like, the first one was good. Second one was pretty cool, and then it started getting cheesy, and it was, like, shitty, and you kind of just expected them to, like, "Eh, alright." Almost like it just becomes like a guilty pleasure or one of those things where you have to see it because, you saw the other ones. Even Hellraiser, like the first two Hellraisers are killer, and no pun intended. And then the third one is like you get one of the Cenobites is a dude with the CD stuck out of his head, and I'm like, what the fuck is this? Whereas these are basically, hey, you're just going to see Art the Clown absolutely decimate people. Like anybody that comes on screen around that guy, they're not going to live. Like there's just no, they're not getting out of it. They're completely screwed. And there's a very loose story around it that's creepy. And I like that. I knew going in I was going to enjoy the film because I already knew, okay, I want to see Art the Clown, completely decimate things. And he did. And it was nice. It was comforting.
It's comforting to see people dismembered in grotesque detail, comically grotesque detail. Yeah.
Well, let's get to that too. Like, you talk about story. I mean, they really kind of push the envelope on certain things. I mean, the very first scene in in the house, they don't show it, but they completely imply that he just wastes a couple little kids. And you're like, oh my God. I'm like, what the hell? And then later on in the movie, he's Santa in a mall and sets off a bomb and nukes a bunch of kids too. You're like, oh my God.
Well, look, obviously they're not going for this thing would never even make it to theaters if they actually showed like kids getting murdered. So it's implied at least. Like, look, I love my horror movies and stuff. I don't want to see like a 6-year-old pretending to walk around with like half his face blown off or something, like that goes beyond entertainment at that point. And I see that. Oh my God, I see that look. I see that look, dude. You want to see that.
I don't, but the part of me that loves horror movies that push the envelope would go, oh my God, they really did that? Like, wow. And it wouldn't be because, I want to see that. I don't want to see the act. So I just, to see something that does that. Like, I mean, dude, I've watched some really messed up shit. Like, I look up like the most twisted horror movies and I try to watch them. And I haven't seen a ton of them yet because a lot of them are subtitled and I don't like those. But like, I mean, holy moly, like a Serbian film, for example, I've watched. And that is I mean, it's just so wrong. And
why am I not surprised?
Because if I'm watching a horror movie, like they don't scare me. So if I'm gonna watch something that's not fun and or educational or something, like it has to be something extreme for me to be like, oh geez. So Kale, AJ, if this is the first time you realize that John might be a little messed up, I have several questions.
Well, this is the first time I've ever heard you say, like, I might want to see some kids get slaughtered on screen. So really what you want is like the extended cut of Revenge of the Sith. Like you want to see the younglings getting mowed down.
It's the fact of someone actually having the balls to do it, I guess, is what I'm trying to say. Because I'd be like, oh, dude, that's too far. But it'd be like, holy shit, this exists. Like someone did that? Good God. Like,
no. You never want to see that. You never want to see that. And here's why. If you see that, I guarantee you in that same movie, the dog's going to get it.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, we don't want that.
Yeah, there are certain safe zones in horror movies. You don't kill animals, you don't kill children. That's it.
Yeah, no, I agree. But I mean, in this one, I mean, they might as well have shown it on screen. I mean, you got the sound of it.
Oh yeah.
Like I was like, oh my God. Like,
well,
wow.
It was damn near like Looney Tunes comical, right? Like it's a big gift and then the lid comes off and like
yeah, with the bomb,
Mongo, Blazing Saddles.
No, I'm talking about the first one when he's in the house and he goes in the kid's bedroom and you just hear all the sound of it. You're like, holy shit, man.
I was really surprised by that. Yeah. I thought the kids would, I don't know if they would escape. Because I mean, really, that's one of those things. We were talking this on other shows about horror movies where you don't want to live, like where the winners are the losers. Like, oh, I survived that horrible thing. Yeah. who wants to? Like The Hills Have Eyes, where like, oh, you just watched your entire family get murdered, and then you were raped by a mutant, and you're out in the middle of the desert with no provisions. Are you really happy that you got out of that?
Yeah, that's a good point.
It's like same thing here. Like if these kids just watch their parents get like brutally friggin' murdered, or like say one of the kids watches their sibling get brutally murdered along with their mom and dad, just take me too. Just take me too. I'm done. I am wrecked as a human forevermore.
Yes. Yes. No, I guess that's a good point. I guess it's a good point. Yeah, I just think, it kind of, and Miranda had a question up top that we'll get to. I don't know. Like, I think them doing that and setting that up, like, with the kids off the bat, I'm like, okay, this is depraved. Like, this is definitely gonna be something messed up. So it kind of set the tone for me, which I thought was cool.
Did you care whether or not it had anything to do with the plot? Because those are just randos. There was like
No.
nothing storyline driven about that whatsoever.
Yeah. No, no. I mean, I actually liked how it got right into it.
Mhm.
It's and that's pretty smart. Like, I mean, they did that with Terrifier too. He's in the morgue, and it shows the guy like all chopped up, dragging himself across the floor, trying to get to the phone to call 911. No, I that didn't bother me, because I mean, basically the whole thing is, the plot synopsis was, the Sienna and Jonathan, the brother and sister from Terrifier 2, it's a couple years later, and they're trying to get on with their lives, and Art comes back and wreaks havoc on Christmas. So, it's a Christmas thing, so he's gonna, and it shows him in all the Santa getup and all that crap, in all the
Mhm.
promo shots and everything. So yeah,
Yeah.
no, and I think it was kind of important, because it kind of sets up to be like, okay, that we're not softening the edges here. You came to see a Terrifier movie, and we're giving you a goddamn Terrifier movie.
Mhm,
So
mhm. By the
yeah,
way, let's just get this debate out the way right now. Terrifier 3 is a Christmas movie like Die Hard is a Christmas movie.
thank you. It's a movie that happens at Christmas. It is not a Christmas movie.
Right.
If you'd like a further explanation of that, go see one of our prior episodes where we discussed this
Mhm.
in detail. Um, yeah, I mean, so you had asked about the story, and Miranda had asked us how we feel about the endings of this one and also part two, kind of leaning to the supernatural side of things.
I'll let
Uh,
you take that one first.
uh I don't really have a problem with it. I don't know how else they could do it, because otherwise then Art the Clown, there's no way he's gonna survive, like, blowing his own head off and getting a you know why why did you ban Kale?
He said Die
What
Hard and
did
Die
you
Hard 2 are
do?
Christmas movies.
You can't
That's what
unban
happens.
him, you asshole. You can't
No, I
ban
put him in
Kale.
timeout. I put him in timeout.
You can't unban him.
I put him in timeout. I did not
You
block
did
him.
unban Kale.
I'd really like to, but I don't know how.
Yeah, I told you, you
It's
stupid ass.
There was ban and then there was timeout. I was like, okay, cool. That's what I want.
Oh,
I'll figure this out. Keep talking.
you friggin'
Sorry,
schmuck.
that joke backfired.
Damn it. Kale, I'm sorry. That was not me. um,
Yeah, me
yeah,
too.
like
I'm
the
sorry, man.
yeah, so the whole supernatural thing, I don't know how else they could have done it, and I don't know how you'd make that cool. Um, so I was okay with it. I mean, it keeps the story going. It gives me an excuse for more stuff. Um, more movies and more kills and all that. So yeah, I mean, it's fine. I will say though, one thing I was going to say was that the ending of 3 kind of sets up them going to hell, and I hate that. That I would absolutely hate, because that just gets to be so unbelievably stupid that I'm like, all right, come on. Like at some point you jump the shark. So Chastity. says, "Hey, people living in the red light district don't get to ban kale. Hey, I did not do that. I I want kale unbanned right now. I
Yeah, I wish I could, but I can't.
Oh my god. Yeah, Chastity, I also agree with you on this. She says the minute the dog dies, screw that movie and screw all the creators. Oh man. Kale, I wonder if you're still there. I wonder if you jump out and then jump back in if it'll.
It's a 5-minute timeout. Apparently, once you put them in timeout, you can't take them out, but it's only 5 minutes.
Oh, okay, Kale. There we go.
Yeah.
John Godfrey, my buddy DQ, says it's like being a Browns fan, straight to hell. Oh god, don't even get me started. Yeah, do not even get started on the Browns, man. I have all kinds of thoughts there. Yeah, so what did you think about the whole supernatural thing?
Um, well, they had to write something, right? Like they didn't establish anything about him being able to come back from the dead. So when he did in 2, you're like, okay, we got to explain this somehow. So they were clearly laying the groundwork. You know what? As far as horror movie franchises go, they've done worse.
Oh,
At
yeah.
least they attempted something and they kept it light. They didn't try to explain too much about it. Like
Yeah.
if they had like spelled out like, oh, here's this book and it like resurrects evil spirits, or he's, Satan incarnate and all this sort of stuff, and let's stab the book like it was Tom Riddle's diary or something. Okay, too much. Too much.
Nice. Good
Right?
reference there.
Like what is it? Halloween 3, I think, goes that direction.
I've never seen that one because that's the one that's super famous for not even having Michael Myers in it.
Right. Yeah, it branches off into all kinds of weird stuff. So yeah, like it's a flimsy framework for sure, but it's enough to say that one, they have an idea of a story and they're not giving you too much of it at one time. They're like, look, it's enough for now. Just go watch them kill people. So I'm good with it.
Yeah, I'm wondering where it can go though, because again, the whole thing where it looks like they have to go to hell to get Gabby back. I'm like, I don't know so much about that. That's a little bit of shark jumping for me. I am not really a fan of that.
Yeah, I mean, you knew it was getting that direction anyway because they kind of did a little bit of like Nightmare on Elm Street sort of stuff when, I mean, right off the bat in Terrifier 2, Sienna is having a dream and he's, catching everything on fire in that like twisted children's show thing that they're doing.
That's awesome. Yeah.
And she blocks the fire with the sword, and all of a sudden things in her bedroom are catching fire and the sword is real. So
yeah,
I mean, it was there. It was basically everything after Terrifier 1. I feel like they always had at least 3 movies planned. Now, how 4 comes out, I don't know, but 2 is so different because it has a story. I'm like, yeah, they definitely meant to do this stuff.
Yeah. Well, I mean, dude, it's a cash cow at this point. I mean, I think like the first one was like a couple $100,000. I want to say the second one, the budget was like 600,000, and then this one was like 2 or 2.5, and it's already worldwide over, I think, 45 or 50. So I mean, there's no way, man. Oh, look, he's back. He's back. Kale is back. Kale, I'm glad to see you. I want you to know that I didn't do that. Look at Kale in all caps. Don't do that again. That was not me, Kale.
I'm taking orders now. Jeez. Okay.
Hey, man, the chat runs the show. You know the rules. You know how this goes, man. Come on now.
I mean, they're more interesting than we are, so yeah.
Uh-oh. Chastity says, disclaimer, please take a lot of my comments with a grain of salt. I'm getting over food poisoning and dealing with a bad post-epileptic aura, headaches, and dizziness. Good Lord. Sorry to hear that, Chastity. That sucks.
I mean, you're hardcore.
Yeah. Tony Webster, good to see you, man. Thanks for tuning in. Says my 18-year-old son loves it. I think Kale, when JT says it, it's fun. When AJ does it, shit's real. Yeah. Yeah. Billy Judd, does art kill the kids? Yep. He kills some kids in this one.
Mm-hmm. You don't even know what the kid count is.
Yeah, it doesn't explicitly show it. But yeah, as we were talking about a minute ago, yeah, that does happen. So
I will say, you know what? How killers have like signature weapons and stuff.
Yeah.
On one hand, like, I give Art credit because he's not like Jason Voorhees has his machete. You know that. Freddy kills with his claws.
Yeah.
Art doesn't have that. And yet, when he just like decides to whip out a gun and shoot someone in the face, I'm kind of like, oh,
I thought that was kind of cool though in the first one. Like he was like tired of playing around and he just was like blam, like, oh damn. Wow. Okay. But I kind of like that there's not that weapon because like that's another thing that I think they do really well. And they added to the added to the whole legacy of Art in this one because they had another weapon that he killed with. You know, you see him messing around with that canister of of liquid nitrogen, and you're like, "Oh, get the hell out of here! Are you serious right now?"
yeah,
It's like that is awesome. And then even better, it doesn't even kill like the way you would think it would kill. Like you would think it would like it would like make the like the limb or whatever the like a block of ice, and it just shatters into a million pieces like the T-1000 and Terminator 2.
hmm
But no, it basically makes like the skin like a candy coating. And so when he's killing that dude in the bar, like he freezes his arms and just like smashing it. The skin's going everywhere, and there's like the meat underneath. Like it's like
You could
this
see the
is
bones
awesome.
and stuff. Yeah, yeah,
Yes,
it was so detailed.
yes,
Yeah,
it was.
dude, I did love that. I did love that a lot. I feel like that was so detailed. I got to imagine that wasn't just like the writers making shit up to be like, what would be like the gruesomest thing we could show? They probably like research it, like what happens when you freeze a living being? How
Right.
does the flesh actually shatter?
look, look at Circle J. It says, I had the second one playing on my projection screen during our kids friendly Halloween party last year. Went exactly as well as you would think. That's fantastic. Um, yeah, no, I mean the weapon thing, like he's got the liquid nitrogen. Um, I, and we'll get to this in a minute. Um, but as bad as like the shower scene is in this one, I still think like kind of like the worst weapon is that table leg from the second one because he just took he just
Yes.
ripped the leg off a table and had like a fork and a knife and a bunch of blades and nails and shit sticking out in all different directions and would just whoop the piss out of people with it. Like that was bad. And then dude, when he when he was absolutely just destroying that one teenager in the second one
Oh,
and
Sienna's friend. Yeah.
yeah, and then goes downstairs and gets the big container of salt and the big container of bleach, and she's all mangled, and he's dumping salt and bleach in there. I was like, "This is amazing." Oh my gosh. Yeah, Jamie, good to see you, by the way. You look great. Congratulations on your awesome diet. Um, yeah, she says, "Damn, I've never watched any. I gotta go. I'm getting spoilers by being here." Yeah, there will be spoilers. There will be
Mhm.
spoilers, and but I highly recommend them. Highly recommend them. Um, so yeah, I think I like that he doesn't have a signature weapon because again, it kind of opens up anything to be a weapon, which kind of adds to it. Like when if you see somebody alive, you know they're gonna die. Excuse me. Nice seeing your face too, Jamie, and you are very welcome. Um, and so I like that's the case because you don't got to worry about that person's getting out of there. You're like, sweet, here comes another one.
Mhm, mhm.
And then with the weapons, like you don't know, like if he's walking past like a plate of cookies, like okay, how's he gonna off somebody with a cookie? You know what I mean? Like I do know one thing. However he does it, it's going to be awesome.
That is the thing. Jumping from like 1 to 3 in my viewing experience and then going back to 2 in the middle, every time I knew he was going to do a kill, I'm like, "Okay, how's he gonna do it? How's he gonna do it?"
Yeah,
There were a few times I'm like, "Wow, they really held back on that one."
yeah,
There were so many other ways they could have killed that person, but yeah.
right. So Kale says, so is this horror, or is this evil clown goes on a killing spree? Because apparently they're both horror now. I'd say this is horrific, but not horror.
Um,
Sorry, I had to hiccup there.
I don't really know if this is a genre term, but I'm going to coin this right now. I would call this gorer, meaning
Yeah,
like the deaths are like cartoonishly violent. So it's not a matter of like it's not a psychological thriller or something where it's going to like mess with your head and be all spooky. You're really just waiting to see how many gallons of blood and body pieces fly off of a person.
yeah. I think Kale, the way it's gone is, in All Hallows Eve, it was like scary because it's like the whole clown thing. Um, and there was a lot more story to that one. Um, there was a lot more story to All Hallows Eve, and because of the violence in it, I think the first Terrifier was basically it. I would kind of consider that horror because it's like it's these two girls trapped in this building, and you got this guy, and
There was
there's
a
the
lot more suspense in that one. Yeah.
yeah, a lot of suspense, but the
You're like
deaths were
waiting for the
obviously
blow to fall. Yeah.
yeah. I mean the like the main kill of that movie, you're just like, oh my god, and I think everybody reacted to it so much that then the second one, it's now become kind of like Art the Clown's thing. Like you're there to see him just again eviscerate people. So it's almost become like a joke. Like kind of like I would say how like in the Nightmare on Elm Street movies, like Freddy, once he did the whole "Welcome to prime time, bitch," and then after that, like all the deaths had to have some funny line and some kitschy thing. Like that became Freddy's thing. I think with Art the Clown now, it's okay. How violently can we murder somebody? There
It's still random for the most part, though. You notice that?
yeah,
Like the way he hacks people apart, it's not like, oh, I thought this out and I'm going to do this because I want the body to look like this after I've cut
yeah,
it into pieces. It's just like, well, I haven't cut anybody's scalp off in a while, or I
yeah,
don't know, bisected their arm by pulling their fingers apart first. Whatever.
right. Yeah, there are some awesome, awesome kills in this. I just love it. And some you're just like, really, seriously? Like, let's get to it. I mean, everyone says that in all four movies that the greatest death scene is the shower scene, and I'm like, I don't know.
No,
I mean,
no.
I think it's the most extended potentially, but he does. He's got a chainsaw. Um, I still think, dude, the one with the first friend in Terrifier 2 to me always stands out. I mean, obviously the blonde girl in the first Terrifier movie, that one stands out to everybody because you're just like,
That's it.
yeah,
That's
yeah,
mine. Yep.
you're like, good God. But see, the first friend in Terrifier 2, again, like, I mean, he just doesn't stop killing her. You're like, okay, she's dead, but he's not stopping. And then,
Mhm,
like I
mhm.
said, he goes downstairs and gets the salt and the bleach, and it's like rubbing that into it's like and then the mom comes home and opens the door, and Art's sitting on the bed doing his wave thing, and the chick's sitting next to him, and like her face is ripped off and her jaw's off him. She goes, "Mom," and it's like she's still
Right.
alive. You're like, what the
Right.
hell? You're like, what is this?
Dude.
So that one I think is better than the shower scene in three, but the shower scene's pretty damn good.
See, yeah, here's where I give a little bit of the edge actually to one, believe it or not.
Okay.
Um, in 2 and 3, the gore is multiplied, but it's also like it's all super close up. It's just like a a piece of a human being that is clearly you know, fake. And it's just breaking apart and bleeding and doing all this stuff. That wide shot of just cutting a human being in half, like
Yeah.
from stem to stern,
Yeah.
like and it just it holds that shot. Like that was like, oh my God. Like that hits to me so much more because you see it as a human being instead of like, just a close up on the frame. Like if you just see like this and there's nothing behind it, and all of a sudden like chainsaw goes through, you're like, okay, well, that's clearly just a bit of
Yeah.
rubber with some, shit inside of it. But when you see like an entire body and it just gets like and it's like,
Yep.
shaking around because the chainsaw's hitting it and everything, like it just hits different, man.
Yeah. No, I agree, and that's it goes back to what I was saying earlier about the practical effects. I think they're good, And I think that the violence is amplified by the fact. See, I would disagree with you saying that, like, and a lot of the kills you just see, like, he'll swing and
It
then you'll see a close up of the body part and stuff. I think you see a lot more than another, because other movies, like, if they go the stab, then I think you really like focus in on, just that little part and like, oh, they got stabbed, and then wide shot, whatever. This one, I think a lot of times you just get okay, they just got stabbed, you know. I mean, there's, or they just got cut up, or they just got this, or they get, and it's pretty, man, oh man, it's pretty messed up. So
I think they might be able to up the gore in the next one if they dial back the blood, believe it or not. Because I feel like they cover up a lot of the wounds by just having like gushing blood everywhere. Whereas,
well,
like, if you were like cut into a hand, like we're giving credit to the liquid nitrogen scenes, because when he like smashes the dude's hand with a hammer, you see like bone in there, right? And what's the difference between that and like the chainsaw in the shower? No blood. Like when you can actually see the anatomy inside instead of just like a bunch of pulpy, fleshy stuff covered in red. Like I think it would hit different if they dialed back
okay.
the blood and showed like, oh, I cut into this dude's hand, and now like the orangish, like yellowish fats coming out, like that kind of stuff.
Right.
Like the first wound on Sienna's friend in Terrifier 2. He's got like, I think it's just a scalpel or something. It's something like really small, but he just right through her face, and it goes like from her forehead down through her eyeball. So her eyeball is cut in half, and it's just like, it's still there, but it's like puffy and like not right, which is perfect. It was like just the right amount, and be like that was hard to watch. That was really disturbing. When it's just like buckets of blood everywhere, you're like, okay, well, it's whatever.
I can see that making sense.
Like
To me,
remember Saw? Was it part 3 or 4 where they've got the where they're operating on Jigsaw's brain while he's alive?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, he makes her like do brain surgery to him, and like that they got that dental drill in the back of the head, and like you see like the skin come away, and like the scalp comes off. Like the lack of blood showing like the anatomy, that was like so visceral. It was just
like gross. Yeah.
I still remember the sound of that drill. I'm like, yeah, no.
Well, it's like in Hellraiser 2 when the doctor becomes a Cenobite, and they do all that kind of like the drilling in the slit. You're like, yeah. Miranda says the boyfriend of the friend in 2 was very painful to watch. Yeah, try watching that scene as a dude. It's more painful than you think. Yeah. I mean, see, that's another thing. Okay, sorry, this is gonna be really gross. We're gonna get kicked off the network, I swear to God. But it is kind of funny. They've got a couple kills in this series where it's like, if it's like a dude in his junk, like they show like the little the little testes hanging down. Like, it's so ridiculous. It's like, I'm like, oh my God, that's hilarious. But so yeah,
do you feel like that shower scene was a direct response to the chainsaw scene in the first one? Like, well, we showed full frontal on a woman and cut her in half, so let's do it to a dude.
No, well, now that you mention it, I mean, maybe.
I mean, they don't discriminate. I'll give them that.
I just kind of think maybe they're like, okay, they're like, they had a bathroom at their disposal, like, because they're in college and whatnot. They've got, the communal bathroom type of thing here and there, I suppose. And they're like, that'd be an awesome place for a kill because it's all brightly lit and lightly colored. So the blood is going to be freaking everywhere. So maybe that was it, the noise of the chainsaw just in that confined space, like, that, I don't know. Yeah, no, but so what I wanted to ask was, what did you think about the whole trying to bring some suspense into it and making it a little creepy of them like being in the house and then like Vicky like smashing her face into the mirror and then basically like carving her arms open with it and sitting in the bathtub. Like what that to me was actually kind of cool. It was interesting, like especially when they showed the passage of time because Art had like cobwebs on him and stuff. And I was like, okay, well I can't say it makes sense, but if that's where you're going with the story, I was wondering like how is this years later? Like what are they doing in the meantime? And personally, I really liked how Vicky was like more of a part of it because she is haunting looking. That character
Oh
just
yeah.
looks so messed up. And
Oh,
so, ooh.
absolutely. Absolutely.
So
Um,
what did you think of those two aspects?
I didn't mind it. Like I said, it's a way to just say like we want to pick up the story at this point, so we had to find a reason to explain the passage of time. Um, and again, this is part of that whole like it's enough story to like just barely hold the movie together.
Right.
Why did they go dormant? Oh, like
Yeah.
they're just like, you know, I'm tired. You go open your wrist in a bathtub. I'm gonna sit in this rocking chair for half a decade. We'll get back to it later.
I just it was like I couldn't quite follow the look at that. Hi, Kimmy. Kimmy, you put an H in my name. What the hell's wrong with you? Come on, man. If there was one person that should be on this episode, it should be Kimmy. She
Hey,
absolutely loves Terrifier and loves this movie. She's like a just an absolute savant for the stuff.
hey, to be fair, I did invite a couple people, and they're not here. So
Oh, okay. You're gonna spring guests on me, huh?
I'm not gonna call them out by name, but you know we've got some friends that really love their horror movies and are very well educated on this. So
Oh, I think I
made the
know.
offer.
Okay. All right. Kale. Kimmy, autocorrect. Kale says she's a cannibal. Why am I not surprised? um, yeah, I just thought it was a really kind of interesting way to like kind of explain the passage of time. Um, especially after it was I still Chris Mott. What's up, buddy? Says Terrifier. You guys are some sick motherfuckers. Hey, we talk about everything, man. It's spooky season. We do Halloween episodes, man. And Terrifier
Exactly.
3 is awesome. So, um yeah, but I thought it was cool. It was an interesting kind of okay, let's hit pause on them for a couple years thing. Um especially after that weird scene of however the hell they got Art's head back on his body or whatever. Like I don't know if she was like eating something and puking it back up. I don't know what the hell was going on. Like I'll have to see it again to kind of figure out what that was because I was like, what?
I don't know. She's
Like,
always been the gross one, right? Like she was introduced kind of in the second one by I don't know, shitting on the floor.
well, yeah, yeah. I don't see. That's the thing is some of the story stuff like is Kimmy and I actually talked about this on Facebook a little bit. Like some of the story stuff is a little confusing. And I guess I can kind of understand like it's not supposed to make a lot of sense, but it's like eh, I don't know, like it gets a little wonky, like the whole like or demon possession thing. Like Vicky wants to, weaken Sienna's spirit so that the demon can take over her body. Like I'm like, what the hell is going on?
Mhm,
So
mhm.
I mean, I really think if this wasn't as violent and gross and gory as it is, because that's what you're really there for, the story might actually kind of annoy me a little bit.
Um, yeah, speaking of, just, shock value in general, how do you feel I'm trying to say this in a way that even with the disclaimer, I still gotta be careful. Uh, how do you feel about, Vicky pleasuring herself?
That's the part that I wanted to bring up. Oh,
That I wasn't sure how to bring that up without,
yeah,
bringing it up, but
yeah. So I I don't know if I should even answer this.
to quote
Um,
Cleveland from Family Guy, "Oh, that's nasty."
it really is, man. Kimmy says, because the demon wants to be hot again, like talking about the demonic possession thing. Yeah. This is what the carved up face. Um, yeah, that was I see. I sound like such a freak. I thought it was awesome again because it was one of those. Oh my god, are they really doing that? It wasn't the whole idea itself of, "Oh, that's cool that someone would do that," you know, in real life. Yeah. Chris Mock, yep. NHC After Dark, baby. Yep, this basically is. Um, but it was just the fact like, "Oh my god, did they really go there?" Like, that is pretty extreme. Like, so I was like, "Wow." I mean, that was definitely something over the top. But, I
Mhm,
mean, for these
mhm.
movies, it's like but and the interesting thing is now, you're kinda like, "Okay, where are they gonna go from there?" Like like
Well, and yet, okay, so let's talk about where they exercised a little bit of restraint. Like in the first one, nudity was very much on the table. Like, I mean, like I said, my favorite kill
Yeah.
is a completely nude woman full frontal. I was so expecting just it's a horror movie trope, right? Like there's
Yeah.
always nudity. And yet they've actually veered away from that for the most part. Like in terms of like any sort of like gratuitous sex. They don't just like trot out a hot person, male or female, and be like, here's some stuff to look at before we kill them. I was actually very
Yeah.
surprised. In the shower scene, for example, I thought for sure we were going to see something, and there was nothing to see.
I it's pro I really wonder if if that's a byproduct of, well, we're doing so much other stuff. Let's not, you know, add insult to injury and also have nudity. Like, I wonder if that's the case.
Do you feel like that's one of those like bygone sort of tropes that kind of like dates a horror movie now? Because it just used to be implied, like, look, if we're gonna do a horror movie, you're gonna see some bits too. Because, well, if you
Some bits.
if you're entertained by gore, you're probably entertained by sex.
Yeah. Um, yeah, I mean, it's kinda funny you mentioned that because I think you do kinda get used to, because so many of these movies are like, "Oh, look at these teenagers," or something, or young adults, and there's romantic interests, all the time, and you invariably you're like, "Oh, well, I'm gonna," as you phrase it, "I'm gonna see some bits." Like, so, yeah.
Do you get the idea that these movies are, in general, are all kind of made by people that are probably not aesthetically pleasing? Like, I feel like it's a bunch of really creative, ugly people that are just acting out fantasies. Be like, oh, you're hot and you're getting laid. Well, now you're dead. Like,
This is
one, I want to see that. Two, fuck you.
yeah, it could be. It could be, man. Um, I mean, Damian Leone looks pretty normal to me. I've seen him before.
I haven't
Um,
looked them up.
yeah. Chris Mock says, "I am entertained by sex, but not horror." Well, don't watch these, dude. Yeah. Um, yeah, I don't know,
I
man. I
do have
mean,
some websites to recommend for you, though. There's plenty of free things streaming out there.
good lord. We're staying away from that. We're already gonna get banned from the damn network for this episode anyway, just for describing what's in the movie. Um, yeah, I really think the nudity was probably. I mean, but the second one didn't have it either. But I think again because of the violence, um, I think that there you got to kind of draw the line somewhere somehow. I mean this movie, Terrifier 3, is not even rated. Like, they didn't submit it for rating because they're afraid that that's what I read online. It could be a rumor, so take this with a grain
Hmm.
of salt. But I know it's not
I thought
rated.
to be in the theater, it had to be rated.
No, all the stuff I read said that the theaters that are carrying it, which not all are actually. There are a few like around me that I looked up that I wanted to go to, and they don't have it, which is interesting. But yeah, so the theaters that are showing it are treating it as an R-rated movie. But I read somewhere that they didn't really want to submit it for a rating because they were pretty certain it would get an NC-17, which completely would like tank
Yeah.
the box office for them. So
No, you're right. It's not rated. I didn't realize you could show anything in the theater without submitting it through the MPAA first.
people must love Art the Clown. They're like, screw the
Yeah.
rules, man. See, Kimmy says that's just horror rules. Virgins live, everyone else dies. Maybe that's the next thing they'll do, Kimmy. We were talking about how they wiped out kids in this one and where they can go from here, especially with like the pleasuring scene.
Mhm.
Maybe that's it. Maybe then they'll start attacking virgins and stuff. Yeah. Kale says, "You called it a review and you reviewed it. You also put me in a timeout, but I digress. Point is, you shouldn't be banned for this one." I, man, I do not know. Well, I mean, Spencer did say they wanted some different content on their channel from what they have otherwise, and here it is. Here it is.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure the other Wednesday show on the network would not be talking about this.
Yeah, I I can actually confirm that without even knowing them. Having never met them, I could confirm that. Kimmy says they should rate it. If you talk to yourself the whole time, you can't sit next to Kimmy. Okay, I have to admit that I was probably pretty bad in the theater for this one. I don't talk, but I know that there were several or oh
Exactly.
man,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
that kind of thing. It wasn't oh, don't go in there. Oh, you know what's gonna
Mhm.
happen. Oh, he's tearing him up. Like no, but it was definitely like going ah man. Ugh. So yeah, um, overall, I think this movie was pretty damn good. It was what's weird though? You know what's really weird is
Hmm.
that the violence almost didn't get to me. Like I had seen it in the other movies, and then this one just kind of felt like this is a horrible way to phrase it, but it felt like old hat. But I
That's the
knew what
trick, right?
I knew what I was getting. So I wasn't
Yeah.
disappointed, but it was almost like, the really horrific stuff. You almost weren't surprised as much as you should have been. At least for me. Because if you you know,
Yeah.
if
I think the shock in this one comes from not so much like, oh, that happened. It's like, oh, he did it again. like,
yeah.
like he nailed like the liquid nitrogen. I keep coming back to that. Like, oh, he smashed his hand with liquid nitrogen. Oh, he keeps going with the hammer.
Yeah.
It's like the first time it happens, you're like, I expected to see that. It was telegraphed the whole time, but it's not done yet. Oh, okay. Well, now this is getting unpleasant. All right.
Yeah. It's definitely I think Miranda mentioned it up in the comments. See if I can find it, but she had said something to the effect of like you just it's so hard to yeah, okay, here it is. So she said it's super graphic. There were points in the movies where I was cringing and feeling guilty by watching the events unfolding. Yeah.
That's true. That's true. I think it's all paid off by not like, oh, Art killed somebody, but like, oh, they're not dead yet. Like this is a living person that's just having to endure this. Like
Yeah.
that gets like you were talking about Terrifier 2, same thing. Like Sienna's friend. Oh, good lord.
I'm telling you, man, that that scene of that kill of Sienna's friend is worse than the shower scene. Everyone keeps saying that the shower scene in Terrifier 3 is the worst of the series, and I'm like, dude, I don't think so. I really think that when Sienna's first friend is killed
Mhm,
in
mhm.
Terrifier 2, that is the one that I'm just
Although
like,
desecrating a
"Ooh."
corpse is pretty brutal too. Like there are a couple times where the person is clearly dead, and it's like the old South Park thing, like stop. I'm sorry, The Simpsons. Stop,
Yeah.
stop. He's already dead. Like
Yeah.
yeah, he's literally already dead, and Art just keeps going. It's like oh, I got
Right.
a chainsaw. I've got a whatever the hell. I'm just gonna keep making parts.
Yep. It adds that's character building
Mhm.
in this universe. So, um, so Miranda has a question. She says, "Do you think the actor for Art is very expressive, or do they edit the extreme facial expressions later?" No, that's definitely him because I don't think there's any way they have the budget to CG that kind of thing. So
I was
Billy,
wondering that. Like, it's almost got to be makeup or something though, because the dude almost never closes his mouth. Like, I feel like there's like fake teeth over his face. I don't know for sure, but
No, Kimmy says nope. That's him. See, Kimmy's my resident Terrifier expert, so I'm glad that she's here. Billy Judd says Terrifier 4 better give Art his backstory and how he turned into a clown. I don't even I don't think we need to see that. I think at this point, Billy, he's just so damn twisted that it doesn't really matter. And I don't think any childhood backstory can explain all of this. Well, I went through the typical I was abused by my parents thing, and damn it, don't you know I grew up to smash people with table legs with forks and blades and razors and nails sticking out of it. Yep. Yep, there's Kimmy. Said he's just a demon doing demon things. Yeah, exactly. Like and I honestly, I mean that's why, like we talked about earlier, the story, it's cool that there is a story that it tries to adhere to. But I mean, is it really necessary? I mean, the first one didn't
it's
really
just
have a
enough.
story.
It's just enough.
This movie's like this movie's like a crab cake. Like it's if you do a crab cake the right way, like we've had crab cakes here multiple places. And we've had a crab cake eating at a restaurant on the bay in Baltimore. And that is a crab cake. A crab cake is just a shitload of crab barely held together by a little bit of stuff. We've said this over and over again. And it's like, okay, that's where crab cakes are from, Maryland. So that's what it should be. And I feel like this movie is a crab cake. It's just gore and destruction and blood and shit flying everywhere, just held together by a little bit of story. So I think that's like, yeah. Steve-O, good to see you, man. He says, I just think you're hungry, John. When am I not hungry? I'm fat. What do you want? But crab cakes are delicious.
See, I had a nice lengthy pre-show discussion with Steve-O about this movie last night, actually. So yeah, he's among the people that says there's just enough story without overdoing it to make it too story focused. I think that's really the brilliance of it, is like, yeah, you got enough plot points that says, okay, we have a reason for like one event connecting to the next. But if you tell too much story, then your brain's engaged and you're like, okay, does this make sense? Do I agree with this story? Like, do I like it as a something to follow? And you don't want to think about that stuff. You just want to think of like, when's Art showing up next so we can watch more people die?
That's a very good point. I think that's an excellent way to describe it, really, because that's true. I mean, if you start getting into the story stuff, like one of the things that Steph said was that she thought that it was too much story before the killing started in this one. Like, obviously they had the opening scene, but she said after that, she thought there was too much story stuff before they started getting into like what you're there to see. So I think that's a perfect description, because yeah, it's in these types of movies, there's no good way to explain how this guy gets shot and stabbed and cut and decapitated and all this other stuff, and he's still around alive. Like, if you're trying too hard to explain that, that's when you start rolling your eyes, and it takes away from, like you said, like, what you're there to see. You're just there to see Art just doing art things. Like, and yeah, that's an excellent way to phrase it. And
that's the hard thing about all these. Go ahead. Sorry, I cut you off.
No, I was gonna say, it was one last thing. I was just gonna say, like, that's why I'm nervous about what they could potentially do in part 4, because if you, like I said, going to hell, then it's like, okay, number one, that crosses the line into being too cheesy. And then number two, where do you go from there? It's kind of like the reason why I'm nervous about like the third Tron movie that's coming out, because I absolutely love Tron, like love Tron. But most of the allure of Tron is, the grid. It's, it's this awesome, digital world. Well, now this one supposedly is set in the real world. Like, they get out, and so I'm like, well, God damn it. Like, how? So I'm really nervous about it.
It's the Matrix 2 to Matrix 3 problem. Yeah.
I'm just really like, no, I completely disagree with that. There's a whole episode right there. Matrix 2 and 3 are absolutely kick ass.
No, we've never actually talked Matrix, have we? Okay. Anyway, sorry.
I think we talked one of them, but in any case, yeah, I just it makes me nervous for the third Tron movie because I'm like, well, that's kind of taking away the whole cool factor of it. And if you with the Terrifier movies, if you start getting too story driven, that kind of takes away the point. And so, all right. So Kimmy says he's from the ninth circle of hell, but I get that, Kimmy. But if you start showing him in hell, then it's like where do you go from there? Like what's going to happen in Terrifier 5? Then it gets really stupid. It's kind of like the whole Freddy Krueger thing where they couldn't figure out how to bring him back to life after 3, so they just had a dog piss fire for no goddamn good reason. Like, what the fuck is that? It's
I mean,
yeah.
there's a point at which you just run out of story ideas. There's only so far things can go. But is anyone ever actually rooting for the killer to die? Like, and that's the problem is like, you get senseless killing, then you get some like backstory on the character, and then it becomes like you're talking about the problem of when like the hunter becomes the hunted. Like once they become vulnerable and you find out like what their weakness is, you're like, I don't want to watch Art the Clown lose. I want to watch Art the Clown murder some people. So as soon as he becomes vulnerable, we're not interested. That's not what we're there to see.
I do know a horror movie where you are rooting for the bad guy to lose, and to die. And in this case, it's so that they don't make any more goddamn movies. It's that horrific remake of A Nightmare on Elm Street. They could have just killed that damn Freddy and been like, okay, not even have the chance to make other movies because that thing was such a giant piece of shit. Oh, yeah.
So Miranda says she hasn't been able to connect Sienna's dad and Art together. Any ideas on that? Seems like there's a connection. Yeah. Okay. So I have thoughts here. What about you?
They kind of tried to explain it, and I was probably just too focused on waiting for the next person to get smashed in the head with a table leg with blades and forks coming out of it. To where I was like, what the? Yeah, okay, so he draws her as a superhero, but the whole supernatural. I mean, that's more of that supernatural thing. I think I mean, beats me.
It's a lot of channeling, right? Like, yeah, he drew this character when Sienna was a child, and it turns out like the sword actually is, I think, going to be the weapon that can take Art down, that kind of thing. So it's either one hell of a coincidence or there's some sort of like not biblical, but that kind of storytelling where like this guy was fated to create the things that will destroy Art, like the good versus evil thing.
Yeah.
I don't want to see that though. I really hope that's not Terrifier 4. But to Miranda's point though, like, yeah, they haven't really adequately explained what the hell is going on, that Sienna's dad was the one who, created this character and, gave her the sword and all these other things.
I mean, I guess that could be the route the story takes, is kind of fleshing that out a little more. I mean, Steve-O's bringing up a point here about that. He says, I joined late, but did we cover the theory of Pale Girl and Victoria being gone, meaning Art will not be supernatural anymore? We did not.
I never thought of that. Maybe they're his tie to that realm to, keep preserving his life.
Huh. See, I never really tied his supernatural. Is that a word? Supernaturality?
It is now.
Supernaturalness. Supernaturality. I never really tied that to the Pale Girl or Victoria. They almost just seem like straight sidekicks to me. And maybe that's oversimplifying things, but that's how it always kind of seemed to me. And again, I don't dig into the storyline of this stuff nearly enough.
Mm-hmm.
Because I'm just too busy like, holy crap, that woman was just doing things to herself with broken glass while Art was killing somebody. Like, like I don't need to think beyond that. Besides going, holy shit, someone put that on camera.
Right. I think
I
Kimmy
can't
might
believe
be onto
someone did
something
that.
here.
Well, okay, so Kimmy says, I feel like her brother's gonna get possessed by Art. He was obsessed with him in 2, even wanted to be him. But I thought Jonathan is dead because they said that the head on the mantle that was getting all chewed up by the rats. It was skinless basically. That was the brother.
See, this is where I wish 3 was on streaming because it demands a rewatch now that I have more of a sense of like who's who and what's
Right.
going on. But I mean, it wouldn't be unprecedented. We're talking like a Corey Feldman Friday the 13th kind of situation here.
Kimmy says, you really think that's his head? I don't buy it. Well, I mean, I thought it was kind of a chintzy way to get rid of Jonathan too, but who else's would it be at this point? Or is it just a head and they just like said, "Oh, this is Jonathan because we put his glasses on him." That's what
Art doesn't seem like the type to do a fake out.
Yeah. Well, and Vicky at that point was, I mean, we saw the fake phone call with Jonathan's voice, so we saw that. So I mean, that happened again.
Yeah, that was one of those like out of nowhere sort of abilities. We're like,
Yeah.
oh, okay, so they can T1000 this shit.
They're the Frank Caliendo of the demonic world.
Right.
Chastity Crawley says, now say supernaturality to the tune of supercalifragilisticexpialidocious. No, I ain't doing that. No way. I stutter and stammer enough on this damn show. I don't need to forcibly do that to myself. Steve-O says, I kind of felt like the Pale Girl and Victoria were like Green Lantern's lantern for Art. That's interesting. All right.
I mean, I hope you're wrong, Steve-O, because that means that in the next one, Art is going to be depowered or unpowered. And I don't think we want to see like a more vulnerable or less powerful Art, right? Like we want to see this dude just completely murdering the shit out of people. Yeah. I don't want people to fight back and have him be like, oh, that really hurts, guys. Damn, stop.
Now I actually am eyeless.
Right.
Oh, no. It's like, what?
No, I like my Terrifier 2 Art where, you can poke him in his eye socket and he's like, isn't that funny?
Right. Kimmy, I think you need to check your autocorrect on this. She says, I think he took Jonathan's friend's head after he cut him anus up.
Well, no. Look, we saw anus down in the first movie, so this might not be an autocorrect.
That's true. That is true. Yeah, I don't know. Oh, I see what she's saying. She meant in the shower. Okay. I see what you're saying. Okay. Yeah. She says no autocorrect needed. On this show we say butthole, Kimmy. We don't need no medical terms here. This is Chastity says the sword being the weapon makes me think of how Superman is from Krypton but is allergic to kryptonium. Interesting. Okay. All right. Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see where it goes because I feel like I feel like we're probably missing a lot of stuff that could like be interesting to do. Like, for example, like where's Jonathan is something like, is he obsessed and all that kind of stuff. So that's, I don't know. Like I say, I just don't want it to go the hell route. Joseph Red, what's up, man? It says AJ would make a great Art the Clown in costume. JT couldn't stay quiet that long. Yeah. And also,
I'm not gonna lie, I was thinking about it. Miranda and I have to do a couple, or don't have to, but we were thinking couples costume ideas. But I thought it was like too direct to be like, yeah, we'll just be Victoria and Art the Clown. Duh.
I got it. You and I will go in costume. We'll wear the same costume, and we'll do the Art the Clown thing. You'll be Art the Clown, and I'll be 8 the Clown. That would be perfect.
I always thought
Kind
we should go. We should go with Cenobites, actually. I think, and you could be Teeth or Chatters or whatever. Yeah.
of exactly right. I totally could. So Kimmy thinks it's totally going the hell route. I do too, and I don't like that.
I don't
Um,
want that at all. I don't want
no.
Jason Goes to Hell. I don't want the
Well,
final act of Spawn 97.
uh, Spawn 97 was so goofy that it was awesome. Steve O, this I was actually thinking of this movie earlier, Steve, before you jumped on. He said, I'd take hell over space. Looking at you, Jason X. Yeah, that movie is that movie is so bad. Oh my lord. So bad. Yeah, I don't like the hell thing. I mean, if they're gonna bring hell into it, then have like the portal to hell close and like maybe it be like how are we gonna get Gabby back? Like that. Okay, if you're gonna use hell as something in the storyline, okay, fine, but don't make it okay. We're filming in hell. That kind of shit works for like the Freddy movies. Nightmare on Elm Street because okay, it's in dreams. You can dream anything, everything. But
Mhm.
this is too I don't think it works anywhere else. So if you're like, "Oh, hey, check us out, we're in hell," like, God damn it, really? Like, man, this
Yeah,
sucks.
yeah. I mean, the thing that makes it scary is that like this takes place in our world. Like, oh my god, this could really happen. As soon as you're fighting on another plane of existence, you've lost all threat.
Yeah. Yeah,
By the way, I mean, I just realized, I don't know why I just noticed this tonight or right now, but your wallpaper, it just looks like Art is just really trying to get his camera time around you.
yeah, I did that on
He's just
purpose.
like you're
That
so
was it.
large that he's just got to be like, I'm over here, guys.
He's coming up behind the fat guy.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, so Terrifier 3 or the Terrifier movies in general, final thoughts?
Um, Final thoughts. They're good on 1, 2, and 3. I hope they don't shit the bed on 4. They're clearly going to make a 4, and like you said, the story is pushing it in directions that we probably don't want to see. So I just we got to see the way how the story goes, but I'm really concerned with how the story's going. How about you?
Yeah, um I don't think I can say it any better than that. I would add that, overall, I will say that even if the 4th one, the story is gonna suck, I don't really care. I'm not there for the story. And I think, since, the whole crux of this was supposed to be a review of 3, I thought it was great. I got exactly what I thought I was going to get. Um, I got some stuff I did not expect. Like I say, there were a few moments I was like, "Oh my god, did they really just do that?" Which again, for me is awesome. So I just love
Mhm.
that there was such screwy stuff. Um, so yeah, I thought it was awesome. It was gory, it was violent, it it was awesome. And again, I love seeing things where I go, "Oh my god, seriously?" Like I say, I'm the one that looks up the really twisted horror films, like, and watches shit like a Serbian film or Martyrs or something like that, like, you know?
Yeah, I learned
So
things about you tonight that I wish I didn't know.
well, I mean, dude, okay, if you really wanna learn about me, go ahead and watch a Serbian film, and then you'll yeah, like, that is,
Drop that in the comments because I don't even know what to look for, and I don't want that in my Google history.
it is, so it I think it actually is from Serbia, I think, but, um,
John dances around knowing snuff films. Go.
yeah. Oh, it's subtitled, and it's, like, basically no, Kimmy, this one doesn't have any animal stuff. Kimmy says Kimmy's a huge animal lover like we are, so she says, "That's one even I haven't seen because animals." Yeah, no, that one does not do that. I think you might be thinking of Cannibal Holocaust, an Italian cannibal film from 1980, which does show actual animal, murder. Um, yeah, so basically, you can rent it on Amazon, but it's an edited version. Like, it's so bad they couldn't show the actual full version. And I've tried to find, because I'm like, if this is the edited version, holy mother of God, what? But basically, it's like this guy that is a retired porn star, and this company or guy, whatever, gets him out of retirement to do like one more major film, and it turns out to be a snuff film, and it is some of the most twisted shit you can imagine. Like, the couple things in Terrifier, I was like, wow. It was like a lot of yeah. Yep. Yep. There you go. Steve. Steve. Yep. He says it. Well, if you love babies, Serbian film may not be for you. Yeah. Yeah. It's definitely. In fact, you know what? Let's do that as our next episode of the Nerf Herder Council. Let's really test the limits of the network. Yeah.
You're just trying to get us kicked off, aren't you?
Yeah.
Not just off the network, but just off of YouTube in general.
Yeah, kicked out of friendships, kicked out of, yeah, so
we're gonna end up streaming on Truth Social. Stop it.
Only Trump will let us say what we have to say. But anyways, yeah, getting back to the point, it's just whoa. So yeah, and I like my horror movies to be messed up, and this was messed up, but in a fun way. I mean, it's as much as it's weird to say that watching people get absolutely decimated like this is fun. I mean, let's face it, that's what we're here for. So Kimmy, they can't ban your pretty hair. Kimmy is the woman who cuts my hair, does an excellent job, and she refused to cut it the last time I was in, because I was thinking about cutting it off, and she said no. So we're still going. We're still going. The growing out period is real, and the hockey hair is in full effect, as everyone can see. So, all right. Well, that should just about do it then, man. That was fun. I'm kind of sad that like our Halloween episodes are over, because I look forward to these every year, man. They are so much fun to like get in here and talk about something we don't normally talk about. So,
fortunately, though, we have a lot of friends that have a lot of podcasts that talk about horror movies all the time. So, if anyone wants to hit us up on socials, we can definitely give you some recommendations, but we don't recommend podcasts for free. So,
yeah,
you got to talk to us privately. We're not just going to like hook up our friends. Come on now.
Look at that.
No, just kidding. Look up Fright Lab Podcast. Our buddy Discuss Metal Joe there in the chat. That's his horror movie podcast, and he does a great job with that. So check that out. Very much behind the scenes and all kinds of informative stuff, not just our, like 5-inch deep kind of level of review. So give it a look. It's a good time.
Yep. Excellent show. Yes. All right, guys. So that is going to do it for another episode of the Nerf Herder Council. Thanks to all you guys in the chat for tuning in. It was great to see some old friends, man. Steve-O's in here. Kimmy, great to see you. Obviously, we would be remiss if we don't mention our good friends Chastity, Joseph Wren, and poor Kale. Boy, oh boy, do you owe Kale. I can't believe you did that. Oh my gosh. Man, oh man, Miranda, good to see you. Billy Judd, thank you for tuning in. And we'll be right back here in 2 weeks. Now I get to remember dates again. It is going to be, let's see.
I love watching you struggle with this. It's hilarious.
Hold on. First,
I could bail you out.
8th. So, if he doesn't leave, it's the 6th. So yeah, we'll be here on Wednesday, October. Jesus, God damn it!
You were so close, man. You were so close. You had the date.
Blew the intro and I blew the outro. But yeah, we'll be back here on Wednesday, November 6th at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and we are going to be doing something Star Wars, because we have not talked Star Wars in a bit, and we would like to get back into that. So we have a couple of ideas, but it'll be a Star Wars episode on the next show, and again, it'll be 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Wednesday, November 6th. If you guys have any show topics or anything you'd like to send to us, you can send us a message on our Facebook page, or you can email us at nerfherdercouncil@gmail.com. As always, we are brought to you by Audible. Go to audibletrial.com/NHC for your 30-day trial and a free audiobook download. My recommendation of the week is Alex Van Halen's biography called Brothers, which just came out yesterday. So you can get that on audiobook. It's a short listen, which kind of pisses me off. I was hoping for more meat on those bones, but it's about 6.5 hours. But yeah, check out Audible for free, and you get a free book there. Anything you would like to get. If you want to get some Nerf Herder Council swag, it's all customizable, and it is available at shop.nerfherdercouncil.com. And if you would like to get some virtual Cantina Network swag, just go to tpublic.com/user/virtual-cantina. And guys, as always, if you're watching on YouTube and have not done so yet, please click the like button and the subscribe button, as well as the notification bell so that you are notified every time we go live. AJ, before we jump out of here, do you have anything you'd like to tell our fine viewers?
No, not a thing.
Okay. Well, we'll see you guys next time. Appreciate y'all. And go watch Terrifier. It's awesome. And yeah, Kimmy, check out a Serbian film.